guys, welcome to DTF Toronto's how-to video. In this video we're going to be showing you the Magesty 600 UV DTF printer. And we're going to be showing you how to put the rolls on. So you got the roll on the front, roll number one. And roll number two on the back. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so the first film that you put on your roller is your laminating film, which will be in box B. You're going to want to start off loosening where this spring is here, and taking it off very carefully. And you put the roll at one end, so this will be the end that we're working with. So you can kind of place those up there safely. And now you can kind of move this, and there's a little ball there that you kind of pull out, and now we're at this point. Now this here is held on, there's a screw holding this on, and it's held by a Allen key. Okay, so we take that off completely and just place that on the machine. While you're getting your roll, you can just place it there and it won't move anywhere, and it's safe there. So when you're putting your roll on, you're going to want to make sure you find where it starts, and you want it to roll in this way. So I've found where it starts here, okay, and now I'm going to put it in this way, the way that it rolls in straight like that. So we're going to just pop it on the end here, nice and carefully, and I'm allowing the other end to kind of support that as if it's another hand while I put this on, okay? So now I just gently put this on, and you place it into the other side there, okay? And once you get that in, you kind of hold it up, use your other hand, come around, and now you can hold it like this. And then you can use this hand and put this end on, safely secure it there, okay? And everything's going to go back on sort of backwards. So we put this back on now, and that is where this ends. And you're going to want to make sure that this side is on the outside, so this stays out as well. So it goes in, and then that piece stays on the outside, so that you have this other half here to work with, okay? And that's where the spring goes on to, is the other side. The spring is held on by that, okay? So now, we're gonna just slide this over a little bit more. Kind of push it on the other end so that you have a bit of workspace here to put the spring on, and push in when you have to actually screw the end back on. So what I like to do sometimes, I'm pretty tall, so I can kind of use my hip here, and I sort of am just holding it on the other side, and that allows me to really work here really easily. And I can hold the spring with one hand and easily spin that on with the other. And now once it's on there, you can let go of the spring, and now this is your tension for your roll, okay? So now we're not going to line it up just yet, we're not at that point, but that is how you put on your first roll of laminate. And again, box B. Okay, so we're going to put in roll A now, the one in the back. So that's the first one we're going to feed through to the front from the back, and I'll show you how to do that. But before we do that, first things first is we're going to pop the machine on so that the vacuum starts, and when we're feeding it through the back, the vacuum will actually hold the film down, so that you can push it up from the back, let the film hold down here, and then kind of release it and walk around and work with it here, okay, at that point. So we're going to pop the machine on, and if it doesn't go on, okay, that more than likely means that your stop button has been pushed. So just always make sure that your stop button is disengaged, and then you can start up your machine. And now the vacuum's on, it's sucking, and now I can go over and feed that film up. So the next roll of film to go on is your actual film here. And that will be in box A. So you're going to want to kind of hold on to it. It's shrink wrap when you get it. I just kind of unshrink wrapped it for video purposes here. So when you unshrink wrap it, you're going to get an arrow on it. That arrow, you're going to want to follow towards the machine. And you got your two roller holders here, so you're going to want to loosen those up. Make sure you got a good firm grip of your roll. It is kind of slippery, so be really careful with it. It really slides really easy. So you want to be really careful and keep it straight when you're doing this. You kind of go off to one side, that whole roll is going to float on you. So really make sure you have a good firm hold of it. The arrow, see there, I almost lost it there. Good example. The arrow is pointing towards the actual machine, and you want to make sure the film is all together, nice and taut at the top. And then you kind of hold it in place, line it up, and then you just push these together. Tighten one side up, and that'll allow you to kind of push against it a little bit more with this one. And that way you can get a nice firm hold of your roll. And then you tighten this one there, and now we have your roller in place. And when we're ready to actually take the film off and put it in, that'll be the next step for what we do with this roll. And to move it back and forth, just to show you, you kind of loosen these both, hold them together firmly while you move it. And you're kind of pushing towards each other so that it doesn't separate and flop. So you're kind of just pushing it back and forth for your alignment. And we'll get to that point soon as well. So that is roll A going in, your film roll, okay, into the back. And that's how you do that. Okay, so I brought you guys really low for this one. So again, because of the movement, how it's so flimsy, you're gonna wanna take something, I'm just using a pair of scissors, but anything really with a straight edge and flat, okay? And so along here, as you can see, it kind of slides. So you're gonna wanna use the roll at the back as your baseline to kind of straighten everything up to. So just go on the one side and make sure you're flush against that, and then just from the other side with your hand, just push along all of it to kind of make sure that all of your film is straight along here, so that when it gets fed up into here, it's kind of not going all over the place. Now it might not go perfectly straight, but get it as best you can, because when it gets up there, if it's just a little bit off, your guidelines will actually hold those in place and and keep it straight, and it will adjust to that ever so slightly. But if it's way off, it won't. So again, something flat, right to the back against your cardboard roll there, and then just with your other hand, just push it all nice and straight, and make sure you keep it as straight as you can. You can kind of roll it down with your finger, just nice and slow, and just go along the whole thing, and just make sure it's all nice and straight, or as straight as you can get it. And then once you get that done, you're going to come up to where the arrow is. Again, the arrow is pointing towards the machine. Okay, so when you get to this point, you just again make sure that this is always staying straight. You got to just loosen or take this green tab off. Okay, keep this intact. Okay, and you're going to want to use this afterwards. There, and just hold it with your finger here. Okay, now before we feed it up, we're gonna again, at the very last minute, just make sure that front part that you've been playing with here is straight. And now you're gonna bring this straight up. It's gonna go underneath this bar here, underneath. And again, we have the vacuum on, so it's gonna catch the film so that it kind of holds up there. And just push it up ever so slightly. nice and even, until that vacuum kind of catches it and you can let go of it safely. Okay, so now it's not going to roll away on me. I can go up there and do what I need to do up there now. So let's get to that part. Okay, so now we've fed the film up through the back and it's being held on here by the vacuum. What you're going to want to do is lift this bar up here, the heater bar. So lift that up and make sure that's up in the air. And then from that point, you're going to feed this down before we start our lining up, just so it's just past, the film is past that bar, so that when you lock it down, it stays in place. Okay, so feed it down just past the bar. And now, once you have that done, we're going to start our aligning. So we're going to take off our left guide bar here, and we're going to go 40 millimeters on this side. So we're going to take our measurement, and our measurement is from the actual vacuum piece itself. There's a little lip here. You want to get the vacuum itself, this part here. So from there to there, you want to make sure the top is lined up to 40, and then you check the bottom of it as well, and then you adjust accordingly. So now I'm 40 on each end. I've made my slight adjustments, and then what you do is lock the heater bar back down. Okay, and then from that point you can put your guideline back on, and you kind of line it up so it's just on the edge, nice and straight. And now you're going to feed down about a foot and make sure that it's staying straight. And what you're doing at this point is kind of looking to see if it's veering off to the left or to the right, and then we'll have to make our adjustment from there. So I'm going to let it down a bit, like I said, about a foot out. And what you're doing is looking for your film to kind of be sliding to the left or to the right. And you can, let's make this one straight too. So just get your guidelines on, right at the edge of the film. We're at 40 millimeters out here. We're straight. This one's straight. So now when I feed that film, it shouldn't go underneath any of these guidelines. It should stay straight. And if it does, then we know where to make our adjustment. So I'm pretty straight, but let's just say that I was kind of veering to the right a bit. Okay? So what you're going to want to do is hold this down, lift back up, okay? And then just make your slight adjustment from that point. And again, you're going to want to go back over to your guideline here, and you're going to want to make sure that you're still at 40 on each side, okay? After that adjustment's been made. And now we're 40 at each side. And then you lock it back down again, holding the, once you get your line up, hold it in place, and then push your heater bar down, and then feed it down a little bit more. Put your guideline back in. Nice and straight to the film, just along the edge of it, so it allows it to kind of go underneath if there's any mistakes or if it's out of line at all. So now we got each side straight. Now I'm going to feed it down a little bit more to make sure that we're all straight. And there you have it. Don't go down too much, because then you might hit the floor and you might dirty your film, and we don't want that. Okay, so once you get that fed underneath the heater roll, then what you're going to want to do, and straight, is you're going to want to take a utility knife. You don't want to cut all the way through. This is two layers here. So you're just going to want to take off the top layer, so ever so slightly with the blade, just kind of go across the one end. I'm using this guide here, and I'm using the gap in the middle of it sort of as a guideline here. So just go straight across, ever so slightly with the knife. stay as straight as you can. As straight as you can. Try not to go through it. Straight as you can. And right to the end, so each end comes off, okay? Now from this point, once you get your cut across, you're going to use that piece of tape I told you to keep earlier in the video there. And you're just going to use it to sort of get down on that and take off the first layer, okay? So that's going to give you your stickiness in there, okay? So we're going to peel that back. Just peel it right back. Okay, you can take that tape off from that point, just in case it gets in the way somewhere else. And now from this point, you want to just let it fall backwards and just kind of just speed it up a little bit, because we're going to be working here. So just give it, speed it up and up a bit there. Okay, so from this point, it's not always cut straight. So just kind of pull it forward, and with your one hand, hold it in the middle here, okay? And it's going to leave it taut across here, okay? So just make sure it's nice and straight on each edge. Take your utility knife and just start on one end and just literally cut. As long as it's taut, you can start on the one edge and just work your way straight across, and that'll give you a nice straight cut. Then you can take this is your access. Now we got a nice straight piece we can work with. You're going to want to line this up straight with the film at the bottom there and get it as best straight as you can. And once you do that, we're allowing this film here to fall underneath it, and we just want to get that starter point. So you can use your utility knife if you want, closed of course, and you just get it to the edge where it's touching this film, and it's getting just under the crevice of this heater roll. So as long as it's just touching under there, so that when we turn it on, it catches both of them. And you want it to be nice and straight under here, so that when it catches it, it all goes together. And again, you can look here and see, just to make sure you're straight and you're overlapped a little bit on each side. And now from this point, I'm going to roll forward a bit and see if I've caught that. Oh, there we go. So you'll see that both ends have caught here. Oh, kind of give it a little bit of a help. Just a light, slight little push down will kind of help it. Just it's a small one, you don't have to put any force. Just kind of almost like holding it in place for it, but giving a little push forward. And now it's got it itself. You don't have to keep doing it, just until it catches it. And now you're just going to go along straight. Just keep feeding it a little bit. And now you're looking on the other side here as it overlaps on it, and you want to make sure it's staying straight and it's got just a little bit on each side that overlaps. Again, this film is bigger than this film, so you want it to overlap on each side just by a little bit. So I'm going to hit forward just a bit more. It's looking good here. Each side looks pretty level, and then you just go out just a little hair more just to make sure it's staying on. Okay, so that top film at the back now, you're going to want to grab it. Grab it through here. And you're going to want to bring it down and back until you're taut with that back bar there. Okay? So now, once you feel that tension, stop. Do not pull. Okay, you just want it to be, you want to just tug a little bit. Now what we're doing here is, on each side, we're going to make sure that it's all straight, almost like a table there. No crinks in it, no creases. And once you're straight on each side, we're going to give it a cut across. And just a nice, straight, clean cut here. So kind of hold your film just down a bit, kind of tug it down, make sure you're taut on each side, and just cut a straight line straight across, or as straight as you can. Because this is the side we're going to be taping now. And now, you're going to want to tape this And you're going to want to make sure while you're taping it on each side, again, it's nice and taut on each side. It's nice to have some pieces of tape ready, so get those prepped beforehand, so you don't have to look around for it or rip it off. So we're making sure, again, we're nice and taut here. I'm pulling back just a little bit, not too much. And once you get that, start on your film. Start the tape on your film, and then feed your way to the actual roll, okay? And that way it stays nice and straight. And again, you're just holding it still in the same spot, or straight across, nice and taut. We're gonna get another piece of tape, and we're gonna start on the film, and then come down onto the roll. Okay? Now, it doesn't hurt to put a little extra tape. You really want to make sure this holds until it starts to actually roll and hold itself. So for the beginning few prints, it's going to rely on this tape to actually hold it in place. So you really want to make sure that's held in place. I'm going to throw one more just for extra measure. Or maybe two more. Again, making sure it's taut every time you're taping. For every piece, you make sure it's taped in the right spot. Nice and taut. That'll be our last piece. There. Nice and straight. There we go. So from this point here, you're gonna just turn it back a bit. You're gonna want to make sure that the roller is rolling forward. So you just click down on, it's two here. It's got two lines. And now it's kind of, you'll see it rolling, but it's rolling ever so lightly. Okay, so the tension's not too crazy, just nice and light, so that every time it prints, it just has enough to pull that backing off. Okay, when you're printing. So I'm going to go to the front and I'm going to roll it forward and let you see kind of what happens and how much tension sort of has to be back here. And you can almost kind of stand there at the controls and look at it at the same time. I'm still here and I can see. So I'm going to push forward and feed down as if I was printing. And what we're doing is making sure that there's enough spin and there's enough tension here to hold that film just enough to peel it off the back as it prints. There we go. Push forward. It just rolled ahead a bit. It's coming off nicely. And there we go. So as you can see, as I get higher, it peels itself off. And that's what you're looking for. If it's not moving at all, that means that over here, you need to make it a little bit more tense. Okay, so forward tense, backwards less tense, okay? So just push it forward a bit and ever so slightly. You don't want it too tight. You want it to just catch that as it comes down. Again, watch how that goes. I'm feeding it as if we're printing. It's going up, and as I print, or as I roll it forward, it's falling backwards and it's catching it and collecting it at the same time. That's what we're looking for. And once you have all that, just ensure that these are really tight in place. Okay, you don't want this moving at all during any of your printing. You want everything to stay nice and straight. So now we've got it aligned, taped, we're secure, and we are ready to print from this end. We're ready to go. Okay guys, so that's how you put on the front and back rollers of your UV DTF printer, Magesty 600. Don't forget to check your ink supply. If you're running low, hit up our website and get your supplies today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Thanks for watching.